Alright, you have read this book. You should have finished it. You've been working on the comic. And before we continue with your comic, what's the assignment? Dominic, what's the assignment?
To finish the book.
Besides finishing the book.
Finishing the comic.
So you are turning this book into a comic book.
Yes.
So it demonstrates that you understand the parts of a piece of fiction. Character, plot, setting, and all those sorts of things. Now given each of you, if you'll see, a rubric. And the rubric shows how you've been graded on various elements. And the elements are plot, characters, setting, tone of language, dialogue. You need dialogue throughout the comic.
What's a dialogue?
Dialogue is when people talk. You need at least one quotation on every page of your comic. Since you finished the book and we talked about the theme, you brainstorm ideas. What does the book mean? What are the themes? There's at least one, if not several. Certainly, you're going to help each other with the grammar and the spelling and the punctuation. You need to organize this so every panel on your comic is numbered. So the reader can follow along easily. It should be complete. Remember that it needs to be done this week. You've got Wednesday and it needs to be finished. So, what we're going to do today, we're going to look at your comics. I need your eyes on me, please. This is one as an example. And there's a lot of good work here, but you can see that it's not very complete. And you all know the story at this point. You've read the book. We're actually going to make a movie of this, so when I teach this next year, I'll show the movie. But this year, there's no book. There's no movie. So this one, let's take a look at a particular page. Let me see if I can. I generally teach 7th grade, and so 8th grade you'll have one or a few people. Okay, listen. Listen. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go through one page, and I'm going to go through the rubric. And I want your opinion as to how well this page measures up to this rubric. And then I'm going to ask you to do the same. We're going to do a bit of a gallery walk. So I'm going to put these around the room, and I'm going to ask you to walk around the room with a pencil, and I'm going to ask you to look through each of the comics and write comments, suggestions, corrections, help each other. Make your comic book into the best that it can be. So you're going to walk, you're going to do a gallery walk, you're going to comment on everyone else's comics, and they're going to comment on yours. And once we're done, then you're going to sit down with your group. You are going to review the comments that your classmates made, keep them in mind, fix the things that need to be fixed, and continue working on it. Your job by now, because this is the 3rd time you will have seen this rubric, your job is by the end of the week, it should be done, and it should be an A. Everything should be right. Now, the first time I graded it, that was to let you know, how you were doing at that point. Then the second time I graded it, the first grades were marked for information. They didn't count against you anymore. This 3rd time I'm grading it, now I'm grading the entire comic. And only that grade will count, because the previous ones will be just for your information. And since you know what to do, and You should know how to do it. You're gonna help each other today. Every one of you should get an A on this. Now, you may very well need to divide the work so you can get it finished. But let's walk through one of these together. All right? So, I don't quite know how to use this machine, so we're going to, I'll float it around. All right, so this one, here's our first frame. It's got a number. Hello, I'm August. I see myself as an ordinary 10-year-old kid. For example, I eat ice cream, play ball, and play Xbox. So, we don't have dialogue. Well, actually, is this a quotation? Did this come from the book?
Yeah.
Yes, it did, actually. So, this came from the book. The only thing it's missing is quotation marks. So, I'm going to write add quotation marks. I'm going to say add quotation marks for dialogue. Because we have dialogue, which is one of the things that you need to do, but to show dialogue when people are speaking, you surround them by quotation marks. All right, our next frame is also numbered. It says, next week I start 5th grade. Since I've never been to school before, I'm pretty much totally and completely petrified. Again, is this a quotation?
Yes.
You're exactly right. So we have 2 quotations, that's good. Does this count as dialogue? How do we define dialogue? That's quotation.
Oh, wait, dialogue.
Dialogue is what?
Conversation?
Conversation, when people are talking. So we don't have dialogue because these are just, they're quotations and they tell you what's going on, but we don't have any characters interacting. As a matter of fact, I don't really see any characters quite yet. Let's move on and see if we see any more. Okay. Number 3. About 2 months before I was born, the doctors realized that something is wrong with my face, but they can't read this.
What they did?
Okay, now, here's a hint. When you write,
Write it down.
you either need very dark writing, or you need a very clear light background. This is a fairly dark background and light writing. I can't read it. So I can't grade it if I can't read it, and the other people who are going to read your comic, they won't be able to read it either. So I'm gonna move beyond this. It shows a hospital, great. Okay? Same thing happens with this next frame. Then we have a 3rd frame, and you know, Augie, you don't have to go to school if you don't want to. Here we have the dad talking to his son, Augie, but it's kind of cluttered. It's cluttered and it's written on top of other drawings. So again, you have to make the writing clear.
That's so good. You can ever do better.
Now, no negativity. I want to hear it. All right. Hello. My turn. I think. Again, I'm having a tough time reading this. So, and then we have a classroom. So let's take a look. What would we? I'm going to go through the rubric, and you tell me what would we suggest for the plot. The plot measures the sequence of actions. The events are clearly portrayed. How would we rate the plot on this? How would we rate how well you could follow this? But could you tell the sequence of events? All right, so the plot is relatively clear, but I'm going to say for plot, we need to make it easier to identify. Alright, for characters, were we able to see who the characters were? No, there were some characters missing, and they were hard to figure out who they were. So, we need to clarify, to make it clearer, and, you know, you need them. How about the settings? Were the settings good? The settings were pretty clear, so those were good. Those were clear. Now, tone has to do with how words are used. Is it happy? Is it sad? Is it mean? Is it mysterious? But you can't really tell the tone if you can't read the words. So I'm going to say that the tone is unclear because the words are unclear. So, in order to make this better, we need to clarify, clarify the words. And that also affects the dialogue. And you're gonna go through this and you're gonna write your suggestions. I'm doing this as an example, as a model. So the dialogue and the quotations. If they cannot be read, then you can't judge it. You can't follow along the story. And the idea is you want to follow along. Do we know the theme from this? Could we imagine the theme? Or do you think we need to read more in the comment?
More in the comment.
Probably need to read more in the comment. The grammar and the punctuation, I'm going to say, from what I read so far, it was pretty good. But